Hello, a very good afternoon and welcome to the We Are Careers show. We are unbelievably in the penultimate episode of season 9. I know, very, very sad. And today we're going to be tackling a topic which might sound slightly disheartening, but hopefully we're going to provide some potential solutions as well. And that is asking the question, what happens when we run out of career development professionals? So in today's session, we're going to be looking all around this idea of the careers talent pipeline, the recruitment retention issues that might be kind of affecting our sector and what we can do about it. And as always, we've got a fantastic guest with us who we will be introducing very shortly, although many of you may be familiar with already. If you're watching for the first time, very warm welcome to the We Are Careers show. So for those who've not come across us before, this is your kind of fortnightly CPD snippet for careers professionals based in the UK or anywhere across the world, covering the big topics affecting the career development sector. If you've not met me before, my name is Chris Webb. I'm a higher education careers professional currently based in the UK and also registered career development professional with the CDI. And I am joined, as always, by my fantastic co-host, Sabiha. So Sabiha, are you having a nice Wednesday so far?
I am. Thank you, Chris. And this is going to be a subject that we are exploring today. By the way, welcome viewers. Great to see you, our regular viewers, and also welcome to you, those of you that are watching for the very first time. You know, this idea of what happens when there are we no longer have individuals interested in undertaking career development work, is an interesting one and a curious one, and exploring what the current and the future talent pipeline looks like is really fascinating. Now, I know many of you have engaged with me and Chris, and most probably Caroline, our guest today as well, around this subject, and I'm sure you all have strong views. So let us know, do you think that there would be a void in the world if there was no more career development professionals, or do you think life would go on? Let's hear from you. We really want you to engage. So make sure that you use that chat button on whatever platform that you're watching us on. Join in the conversation, whether you're watching live right now or you're watching on the replay. And also as well, help us help you. Hit that subscribe button, hit those like buttons. Let us know the content that you're enjoying the most, that Chris and I produce, the shows that we produce, but also as well, let us know what you'd want to see more from us, and let us know in the chat box feature, because this show is about you, the viewer, and us bringing concepts and topics and ideas that helps you become the best career development professional that you possibly can. And for those of you that don't know me, I'm known in the sector as Meet Sabiha, and I work as an international career professional, helping professionals get unstuck and get back into career flow without the stress. And I also have to be the creator of the I Am Thriving career coaching program, where I work with other international career coaches and help them create powerful and transformative career coaching experiences without wasting time on resources and tools that don't create results for them and their coaching clients. And make sure that you stay tuned till the end, because we've got the news section coming up, and I know Chris has got some great stories, great selection pick for your CPD, and I've also got some great stories. So if you're working in international space, if you are thinking about becoming a careers leader and you want to know what the latest is happening within the CDI, make sure you stay tuned till the end. Now, this part of the next show, now we talk about careers cheers, and this is all about us celebrating, and you join in with us, of amazing work and amazing professionals that are doing awesome work in our sector. So Chris, who are we celebrating this week?
Yes, thanks, Sabiha. So we're kind of going back to awards again this week. So, you might remember in our last show, we talked about kind of winners of the UK Career Development Awards that took place, fairly recently. I think we were kind of end of June, wasn't it? 26th of June, I believe. And last time we sort of said, keep an eye out on social media, but there weren't the kind of announcements there. Where now we can say, if you go to the CDI website, you will find the full list of UK Career Development Award winners, including today's guest, Caroline Green. So, Caroline, massive congratulations to you. I know we'll be asking you a little bit about that for the intro, but a big careers cheers to yourself and all of the nominees and winners from the UK Career Development Awards, including the CDI Fellows and, of course, Dr. Lynn Barham for the Rodney Cox Lifetime Achievement Award. So, again, you can find all that information on the link that you can see on the screen. And our second careers cheers this week, another award-focused one to the nominees and winners of the NICEC Bill Law Award for Careers Research. So Helen Root was the winner. Big congratulations to her. And Fran Rimmer, Sarah Iqbal and Angela Coma were kind of commended submissions. But there were a lot of really great nominations, apparently, including Darren Stewart, who I know quite well. So there were some really kind of great pieces of research submitted. And congratulations to anyone who was nominated, put forward, commended, or indeed Helen as the winner. So those were our careers cheers for the week.
Oh, thank you for that, Chris. And some great names and and I know there's been lots of award ceremony happening. Chris and I were just discussing that before we came on live. And maybe you didn't hear your name. Maybe there was a colleague of yours that recently got nominated. Use the chat box. Let us know. What are you celebrating? Join in the conversation. And already I can see some of you are joining in the conversation. So welcome, welcome, welcome. Somebody just answering the question. And this is going to be coming to our guest very shortly, who I'm just bringing on. Quinn just saying, I think it would impact social mobility, etc., if there wasn't career development officer. Do you agree? Do you think that, the world that would have an impact? And Catherine Jennett clearly agrees with that, but perhaps maybe you've got a different perspective, or there is another view that you have that you want to bring on. Let us know. Join in the conversation. And so, saying that, I do want to bring in our guest for today. Oh, congratulations to all the nominees and winners, fellows, and the Bill Law Award winners. Cheers. Yes. And continuing the theme and bringing positivity. Obviously, we didn't know that our guest was going to be an award winner. We are very blessed. And I said that this show is going to be about appreciation. And I saw Caroline's face when I said that. She was like, oh my gosh. But we do want to give a warm welcome, and join me, everybody, in giving Caroline Green a warm welcome. Now, Caroline, for those people that perhaps haven't heard about your journey in the work that you do, and the topics that you are passionate about in this field, tell us a little bit, share that with us and our viewers.
Brilliant. Hi, everybody. So my name is Caroline Green. I am the founder of The Talent Cycle, which is a company that I set up to support people with careers. And the reason it's called Talent Cycle is because it's all about that cycle of talent, from working with young people, either privately or within schools and colleges, through to people who are perhaps been working for a number of years, and the career for them that worked in their 20s doesn't work for them in their 40s or beyond, or perhaps they're going through redundancy and so need some outplacement support and so on. So that's kind of the background. I am also a registered career development professional. I'm proudly, I don't know if you can see, proudly wearing my CDI badges here. And I'm also one of the 2 reps for the South Central CDI region. So hello to Hannah West, because I know she's watching. Hannah is my fellow rep. So that's kind of a bit about me. My passion is, as well as supporting my clients, I really care about the sector. And that was something that I said in my thank you speech at the awards. I talked about, thanking every single person in that room, but actually it goes broader than that. Everybody who works in the careers sector, it is vital. So here you go. Here's a little preview of what I'm going to be talking about. I certainly, answering your questions from earlier, absolutely. I mean, I can't even imagine a world without careers professionals. I do not know what would happen. It is so important. The work that we do matters. It matters to us, it matters to our clients, and it matters to the whole world, whether you look at that from a economic point of view or a social point of view, millions of different other points of view. What we do is so important. And that's why I now sort of moving forward with my business, as well as sort of doing the private client work, or sort of individual client work, I should say, I'm also doing a lot of work, as well as working in the sector, I'm working on the sector, so supporting the sector to develop and to thrive in the way that it really should do.
Brilliant. Thanks, Caroline. And we are going to obviously dig into that in a bit more detail, particularly around the event that I know we're going to be kind of promoting a little bit later. Yep. Linked into everything we're talking about today. So fantastic intro. And I guess, a really good kind of place to start, as you say, we're seeing a lot of kind of comments in the chat at the moment on this topic. Clearly, as you said, lots of people like yourself feel very passionate about this. We've got kind of people mentioning about those kind of broader, more holistic benefits of kind of career development work. So particularly that idea of, improving mental health, personal, national productivity, life plans. Pete Robertson was talking about this recently at the Northeast Ambitions Conference, around the kind of how career development impacts on the UN Sustainable Development Goals. So again, nice to see some of that sort of reflected in the comments. So I guess kind of as a sort of starting point to this kind of topic, Caroline, for maybe people who have been sort of thinking about this but aren't sure necessarily where to start, what do you kind of see as maybe the issues at the moment with the careers talent pipeline? Where are we kind of struggling at the moment? Where are the challenges kind of facing us within the sector?
I think think the challenge is we don't really have a talent pipeline, to summarize it effectively. I think, there's been a lot of information, there's been a lot of reports. So if you are interested in this topic and want to kind of read up more about it, the Careers England recently did a report called Workforce Recruitment and Retention in the Career Sector. So that was done in December 2022. And they brought out some worrying statistics. So 23% turnover in our sector. So that's a higher than average turnover. So one of the things I didn't mention in my intro, as well as being a careers professional, I'm also a qualified learning and development professional and work a lot with HR teams who spend a lot of time looking at turnover. Certain amount of churn is good in any either organisation or sector. It's good. It keeps things fresh and vibrant. But when you've got a higher than average turnover, that is a concern, particularly when we can see we don't have, we have lots of people who are leaving the sector, but we don't have that kind of incoming, new talent coming into the sector as well, which is a real concern. And this again, was highlighted with the CDI do their regular hashtag Big Listen survey. So they do that a couple of times a year. The latest one has recently been done and closed. I haven't seen the kind of findings, what they've discovered from that yet. But previous ones have certainly shown again that there is, a large percentage of people. So the last survey, 84% of those who took part in the survey said that they were proud to work in the sector. I think we know that. We're all very proud about what we do. We do it because we care. And we're very proud of the work we do. Less than 8% thought that there was enough government funding for the sector, and 23%, so from a talent pipeline point of view, this is the most worrying one, arguably, 23% said that they were likely or very likely to be leaving the sector within the next 2 years. Now, we know we're not a very diverse sector in lots of different ways, including from an age point of view. So we've got a lot of people who are retiring, and we, as I say, we don't have that kind of incoming talent pipeline that we need. We're also leaving people because of pay and conditions. There was the there's been lots of reports recently. Obviously, there was the Education Select Committee report that sort of talks about the career sector, talks about the things that are going well and things that aren't, and their recommendations. We also had yesterday or this morning, Tristram posted on LinkedIn the Investing in Careers report that's just come out that talks about the fund. It is depressing when you look at it. So for every young person, currently the sort of average is £68 is spent on a young person for their career support. In 2009, that was £159. For adults, it was £26. Currently, it was £35. So we can see that funding is disappearing, but at a time where we need it more than ever because the world of work is changing. It is a difficult market out there for lots of reasons. So absolutely, circling back round to the start again of absolutely, this is why we need careers professionals.
So yeah, a bit of a perfect storm, as you say, I suppose, of kind of factors coming together, diversity within the sector, lack of funding or lack of diversity, I should say, general kind of issues, as you say, around sort of policy and how that's maybe influenced, salaries that kind of careers professionals can access, particularly maybe in kind of schools and colleges, those type of things. So I guess those are kind of external factors that may be a little bit more difficult for us to control. But I suppose as kind of part of that, you mentioned about, the lack of a talent pipeline. Some of that, I guess, is to do with the careers profession itself, isn't it? And how, I guess, difficult from the outside it is to access or kind of understand if you're someone who's potentially looking to be an entrant into the profession. So are there sort of areas there you feel where maybe we still have challenges as well?
Absolutely, we have challenges, and we'll talk about this a bit more when we sort of talk about kind of solutions. But yes, absolutely, there are challenges because we're not a very visible sector. So myself and Claire Johnson at CDI ran a session about talent pipeline and how do we develop it. And something that the sort of big takeaway from that was that we need to be more visible as a sector. People either don't know that we exist even, or actually if they do, they don't know what it is we do. Hence, Catherine Jennock and Bella does those are brilliant, hashtag so much more than talking about jobs. Virtual campaign was a really good way of teaching people that actually we don't just talk to people about jobs, we do so much more than that. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done around that, but also, as I say, just generally raising the visibility as well, particularly with young people. I think we need to raise the visibility with other sectors as well, and that I know that there's been lots of discussions in different careers professional groups about, for example, talking to other sectors. So looking at actually what are the other sectors that perhaps have people with a similar sort of ethos as careers professionals who are caring. So for example, the NHS, should we be talking to people in the NHS about coming into careers work? I know that there are lots of careers people in the NHS as well, but should we sort of be looking at that? Or should we be thinking about young people? For me, one of the big things is young people just don't know that we exist. They don't know it as a profession. We are so busy supporting them to figure out what they want. And yes, in a one-to-one session, you can't be biased and encourage them into the career sector. But there are different ways that you can raise the profile with young people as well.
And that connects quite well actually to our next episode. We're going to be talking about careers and the kind of the marketing problem generally of careers. And actually, I guess also kind of connects quite nicely into some of the comments we're seeing coming through in the chat. So Sabiha, do we have kind of any that we want to pull in just at this point?
We do. Thank you for that. And honestly, Caroline, I think you're definitely getting people, you're provoking thought, and you're getting people to think about not only sort of where they sit in this whole sort of kind of space. Because one point that you're making that's resonating with me, and perhaps it's resonating with you as well, viewers, and and let us know if it is or if it isn't. That is that, okay, how do I manage my own career? Like, what's the career progression going to look like for me, whether I'm working, I work independently, but for those working either independently, internationally, in HE, FE, perhaps you're working in an organization, public or private, what does that look like? Where do you go? And and I would imagine when you talked about that number of 23% are saying that they're going to leave the sector within the next sort of 24 months. Maybe that is partly the reason why people are going, well, I don't know what's next. I know I'm comfortable here, but actually I'm looking for progression, but I don't know what that progression is going to look like. And another sector, another area of work can provide me with a much more clear, transparent sort of kind of stepping stone. And so perhaps I'm just kind of putting out there, is that perhaps maybe are you yourself? And in fact, actually, are you watching us right now, either on the replay or live, and you're thinking, yep, I am one of those people that is thinking about leaving? If you are, let us know why. It'd be really interesting to hear from you and to hear about, where you're at. And speaking of the comments, let's bring some of them in. So we've definitely had some people. We've got Natalie here, Freeman, saying congratulations. Oh, sorry, hang on. Yeah, I was going to come into that one in a second, Chris. Saying congratulations. So you've definitely got some love here in the audience right now, Carolyn, for you, for people wanting to mark and show respect, as well as yourself, but for other people as well, and the other award winners, whether we mentioned them or not. Debbie Dimmitt, which is a comment here that Chris has put on the screen for us. Thank you for that, Chris. Natalie Freeman, RCPD, we have all seen the rise of COVID career coach, people who are damaging the reputation of qualified and registered practitioners with their social media portrayal. And that's an interesting one. Then we've got Brighten Up the Future. The more acknowledgement and engagement of the career guidance counsellor needs to be done. People need to be made aware about the importance and value of them and their lives. And then people are agreeing with the comment that Debbie has just shared with us, and there's more comments. Oh, okay, now the comments are flying in. I love this. This is now where everyone's going. No, I agree, I disagree. And then we've got some more comments coming in about the National Career Service, a government operation who relies on level 3 and level 4 advisors to provide guidance, yet the government are promoting level 6 with the statutory guidance, but don't cross-reference with their own career service. And so we've got David here. Thank you for that. At CSW Group, we are offering our level 4 team, working with NEETs and young people at risk of NEET, the opportunity to do level 6 career guidance qualification as a way to create a talent pipeline for the future. So lots of comments coming in. I just want to kind of bring you in, Caroline. What would you say to those comments that are kind of pouring through right now? And there's many more, and keep them coming in. Even if we don't get to them, it's always good because then everybody can see, that conversation, the dialogue, the route that the dialogue is going. What would you say to that, Caroline, so far?
Some of this, it's sort of connected with what you were talking about of, if you are sitting within the sector or you want to come to the sector, but you can't see how do you develop, how do you grow? Absolutely. I work with a lot of people who are new into the sector. I'm mentoring a few people at the moment who are from other sectors where there's a really clear, obvious, pathway of where they go within their career. And in our sector, it's just not there yet. There are some documents out there. The CDI have them. I know ACAS has some stuff. So there is some bits and pieces around, but what we really need is actually to all come together. And that's, one of my big things is about the careers community coming together and working collaboratively to say, actually, this is our sector. this is what you can do in the sector, and the amazing different things. You know, again, with my L&D hat on, lots of the two main reasons people leave roles, one is about a poor manager, and another is about lack of development opportunity. So if we're looking at this as a sector, you know, as a whole, actually, you know, people are leaving because of lack of development opportunities, and there's a finance element wrapped up within that. But actually, sometimes it's not just about the finance. You know, we need to lay out more clearly the wide range of different opportunities that there are available within this sector. There are so many different things that you can do. And Chris, and you know, I know we've talked about it before, about, for example, in the HE sector, that, you know, you were sort of talking about the many different roles and the many different entry routes. You know that because you're in that sector. If you're outside of it, it's really difficult. So we need to get better when we need something, and I'm going to say a document. I don't think it's a document, but something more interactive than that, to really lay out actually all the different pathways and the different ways and the different things that you can do. And linked into that is bringing in some of those things, like, for example, the qualifications that you need for those different jobs, the kind of salaries that you can expect. You're bringing in lots of kind of LMI around that as well to show people. And then that highlights as well, that helps us highlight, because absolutely there are, as was picked up by the Education Select Committee, there are people, and I think they referred to them, I was quite surprised, they sort of refer to the sharks that are out there, and they're absolutely, you know, they are dead right. There are those people who we don't want in our sector. They're not in our sector, really. They are kind of pretending to be, if you like. And that is, again, why it's really important that we all get more vocal. We shout about what we're doing. We do things like, you know, if you're RCDP, you know, you wear that with pride, you talk about it. If you're not, then talk about, you know, what other qualifications you have, or what experience you have, or, you know, what is your professionalism in the role that you are doing, for example. We need that, and we need great employers like, so I think it's David, he sort of talked about, you know, developing his team. That's brilliant. You know, it's really important that we have employers supporting us all as well. It's not just individuals, it's the whole community.
And as you say, shouting about it, I know, is something that is a particular kind of hot topic for you at the moment, with in mind, I guess, an event that's coming up. So tell us a little bit more about kind of what you've been developing around the sort of Careers and Careers event, and I guess the kind of intention behind that, linked to what you were saying about really making sure we shout loudly about what we do as a profession.
Yeah, so I am going to be hosting a Careers in Careers celebration festival, which is happening on the 14th of November. It's online. It's the event is taking place online, I should say, and there's a whole host of brilliant things that are happening as part of that event. So I've got some fabulous speakers, including Chris, yourself, thank you very much, and some other amazing speakers who are covering a variety of different topics all about the sector. We are going to be covering some of this, actually, how do you develop within the sector? So topics like that, but also talking about other things like using technology and how that sort of can enhance your careers practice, not replace it. Lots of other things. The wonderful Catherine Jennick is going to be talking about, you know, our strengths as careers professionals and so on. So loads of fantastic other speakers as well. And the kind of rationale, if you like, behind the event was, you know, some of this leads on from things like the Talent Pipeline webinar that I ran with Claire. As I say, we need to be loud and proud and visible about what we do. We need to come together. We need to celebrate the fantastic. There is fantastic, you know, like you sort of said at the start, it could sound all doom and gloom, but it isn't. There is brilliant things going on in the sector, you know, led by amazing people who don't always get the recognition that they deserve. So actually, let's praise them. Let's get that recognition. Doing things like Careers Cheers is fantastic, and it's just kind of, you know, it's almost like an extension of that. So there will be awards, a whole variety of different things, including Most Supportive Employer. So again, going back to David, you know, you can nominate yourself, or someone else could nominate you for being a supportive employer, and lots of other topics as well. And as I say, the rationale behind it is about that whole being loud and proud, shouting about what we do, coming together, improving our practice as well, sharing best practice. It's all of these things together is why I'm holding the Careers and Careers Festival. And I've obviously kind of hit a nerve with the careers community. I think, you know, sort of, I launched yesterday, and apologies for anyone who was trying to buy tickets first thing, because we had some tech issues. Those are now sorted, I'm glad to say. But, you know, I've sort of sold over sort of 15 tickets, or 50, I should say, tickets, or, you know, within 24 hours sort of. So, and, you know, others have sort of talked about coming along too. So I think it's going to be a great event. And it's just one of the ways that people can support the careers community, has come along, and hopefully get some other ideas about other things that you can do to keep shouting about what it is we do.
I love that sort of kind of practical. And again, we will be shouting about it too, also for you, Caroline, regarding how people can engage with that and information on that. And as I said, the chat box has completely blown up. There's been so many good comments, and I'm looking at the time. We're already coming into the last few minutes of the show. So I apologize in advance for our viewers that have engaged with us today. We won't get time to sort of kind of get into all of the comments, but I know Chris is putting some comments on that. I know there was a good comment also as well. We've got David here hearing about, ex-teachers looking and interested in joining the sector. Debbie sharing there about sort of observations about poor management within schools. We've got Sue Edwards here talking about, people not knowing the difference between level 6 and 7 in respect to what it means to their careers and why someone might choose one route over another and what that means. And so having that access to that. Someone commenting, I suspect this person has already bought their ticket, probably is in that 50, has bought their ticket to the conference, saying the lineup to the conference is amazing. Catherine.
I'll come in on this one, Sabiha, because I think I've been name checked in this comment from Catherine. So this was some time ago, I think. Janet College actually probably, I think, raised awareness of this, that Channel 4 was scoping out wanting to talk to kind of careers professionals. I remember, this was probably about 4 or 5 years ago, actually talking to somebody from one of the research companies, and they don't think they ever did anything with it. But interesting. I mean, I've always said this on a kind of anecdotal level. I think would be transformative for us to have kind of a program that is focused around this. Although Jake Richards has also talked quite interestingly about some of this stuff that's going on in kind of YouTube and TikTok, where people are learning about careers kind of by proxy through really sort of kind of strong content creators and influencers. And actually, maybe we need to be looking in lots of different avenues to think about how we're promoting the sector as so.
Absolutely. And I was having a conversation with Jake about that yesterday, actually. And yeah, absolutely. It's, the modern world of young people will just go online, that, we need those digital visibility about, the world of careers with young people through that platform. But there's also other things that you can do as well. So yes, it would be brilliant if Channel 4 picked up a program about us, but there are other things that you can do. And that is one thing that I would just say is everyone, although yes, I'm doing a big Careers and Careers Festival, not everyone needs to do that. It's okay, trust me, it's a lot of work, but there are small things that you can do that will make a big difference. Talking about what you do, either whether that's online or whether that's at a dinner party, it doesn't matter. Talk about what you do. Let's raise the awareness with everybody. Let's put ourselves forward as well for things. For example, I was on the BBC last year. I just contacted, media outlets and said, actually, hey, rather than talking to teachers, could you talk to a careers professional about young people and careers when, A-level results day and things like that. So I ended up on the BBC. There are things like that people can do. We just still need to come together and just keep shouting about what we're doing, and we will get there.
Well, I love that, because that was going to be almost, so you've done my job for me, Caroline. So I love it when we have guests that just kind of eases and transitions it into the different segments of the show, which was that, because one of the things that Chris and I are always passionate about is it's great that we're sharing the CPD news snippets of information and sort of kind of, we're sparking ideas and we're inspiring you to go do things. And it's always good to hear from our guests the sort of kind of practical aspect of what can that look like, because we're going to have viewers right now who are watching that are going to be working in such a broad range of roles in a broad range of sort of kind of settings, and might be wondering, well, that's all fair and well, but I'm either time poor, or I don't know even how I could go about, bringing about this change and how I can support my sector that I am so proud of being a part of. How can I do that? So if there was one thing, what would that one thing be, Caroline, do you think, as we wrap up today's show?
Gosh, that's tricky. I think this is the thing. It's not one person and it's not one thing. It's everyone doing lots of little things. Whether that is, like I say, reaching out to media, whether that's talking to people, making sure you're talking to people outside of our little careers bubble, is a really important one. Doing things like, if you're running a careers fair, have a careers person there talking about the sector, not as sort of giving careers support. There's lots of different things that people can do. Can I get away with that? Because I've kind of neatly wrapped that up.
You can get away with it. And in a very, very neat segue, I can say, if there's one thing you definitely can do today, it is sign up for the Careers and Careers Celebration Festival, because we have to give that a plug. So that is on the screen now. If you are interested in what Caroline's been talking about, check out the link on there. It's got the information about how to sign up, information about the speakers, and everything that's going to be going on as part of the festival. So do take a look at that if you get the chance. But unfortunately, as always, that has brought us right to the end of the episode. We are still going to go through the news, so do hang around for that. But just to say, Caroline, a massive thank you for joining us today. Congratulations again on the UKCDA win, and obviously best of luck with everything for the upcoming preparations for the festival. We're now going to move on to, as we always do, our CDI and CEIAG news for the week. So Sabiha, it is over to you first to tell us what's been kind of happening from a CDI perspective.
Thank you for that, Chris. Oh, and I was just going to say, the comments are still coming through, so carry on the conversation, because obviously you've got your fellow colleagues. So even though Chris and I might not be on screen anymore in a few minutes' time, you've still got your fellow colleagues, especially if you're part of the Facebook community as well, which is part of the extra added value benefits that you get provided when you are a member of the CDI. So there's 3 news stories that I've picked. The first one is confirmatory vote of the chair of the EPSC, which you heard me talk about in our previous show, and that was a validated nomination for one member of the post of the chair of the Ethics and Professional Standards Committee has been made. That is by our colleague John Walker. Now, as stated by the CDI governance email on the 3rd of July, if there's only one nomination for the position, for the chair position, we're now inviting people, and the ballot paper is now out. So you should, if you are a member of the CDI, you should have received an email with the ballot paper. And if you haven't, you can contact Nikki Moore, who is the CDI Honorary Secretary. Now, the closing date for you to return your ballot paper is 9 a.m. on Monday, the 31st of July 2023. So you have got some time still to make your vote count. So that then brings me on to my next story. And this one is for the international viewers and international members of the CDI. Now, one of the great things about being a CDI member, and if you haven't already joined, I promise you, for the price of, oh my God, it doesn't even cost the price of a takeaway that I spent over £25 the other day spending on, but less than even the price of a burger and chips. You can get so many benefits by being a member, and particularly if you're an international member or you do international work. David and his team attended the IAEVG International Conference focused on lifelong learning development as a standard, and it was an excellent opportunity to hear from researchers, policymakers and practitioners from around the world, and also as well an opportunity to meet face to face with international contacts. If you have aspirations to become international career development professional, it's a great way that you have access to this. Now, being a member of the CDI, you will get access to those opportunities to meet, as well as the journal and discounted tickets to attend the conference. And you can find information about that in the members area. And the reason why I'm highlighting this is that you might be thinking, well, Sabiha, I'm not interested in working internationally, but there's always good practice in the space that you might be working in and the clients that you are serving in, where you can learn from other professionals and other good practice that is happening internationally. That's just one of the many ways that this benefit, value-added benefit by being a member, can help you with regards to your CPD. And then finally, CEC-funded Careers Leaders training. You know, we talked about the pipeline today, so it would have been sacrilege if I hadn't have mentioned about, you know, where some of these opportunities are. And the CEC-funded Careers Leader training is being delivered by the CDI. Now, the CDI have trained over 800 careers leaders since 2015. And the CDI are pleased to announce that there are now more funded places available for free careers leaders training. The start dates are from September 2023 till right through to January 2024. And there's more information, and there's a link that you can go to learn more information about that. So that's my wrap up of news from the CDI perspective. Chris, what stories have you picked for us this week?
Yes, thanks, B. Yeah, so some really interesting stuff in the news at the moment, and I wish we could kind of cover all of it. First one this week, probably no surprise to anyone, you'll have seen the highly kind of contentious and certainly very vocal policy from the government, or policy announcement around rip-off degrees. So this has kind of been in the headlines, government talking about extra kind of crackdowns that they're planning on what they kind of term as low-value degrees. And it's kind of opened up a whole range of debate, I suppose, around, again, the usual sort of university and apprenticeship routes, academic technical education, what would constitute a low-value degree. So it's very difficult to signpost kind of one link here. It's really to say, you know, take a look on things like LinkedIn and Twitter, have a look at the debate that's going on. Some of it, sadly, is kind of quite blunt and I think not particularly nuanced. but there is some really interesting stuff that's kind of being talked about. Laddie Mohammed Chapman, our last guest on the podcast, actually has a really interesting post about this. It's got a great comment thread underneath with people sort of expressing different opinions, and it's fascinating to see where people kind of land on this. So do check it out, whichever kind of side you fall on the debate. Second news story for this week is around the Turing Scheme. So if you've not kind of come across that before, it has been awfully quiet. So the Turing Scheme was essentially the replacement for Erasmus when we left the European Union. And it's not had a lot of airtime, largely because a lot of kind of universities and colleges and students seem to find it quite difficult to access in terms of funding for placements and opportunities abroad. The government's just released some information about who's kind of used the Turing Scheme so far, how many kind of applications have been made this year. So it's something that you kind of not come across yet, you're not sort of familiar with, well worth checking that out. And there are some kind of additional sort of articles in kind of university type publications, University World News, those sort of things that tell you a little bit more about it as well, if you want to find out about the scheme. And then the final news story for this week has been alluded to already in the show today, and this is the Policy Connect event that took place yesterday in Westminster. Speakers included people like Professor Siobhan Neary, Tristan Hooley, for example, John Yarham from the CEC, all kind of talking about basically a career guidance guarantee for England, and essentially like the importance of investing in career guidance. So there is a briefing paper that the CDI brought out. You'll see that flashed up on the screen at the moment that talks about, as Caroline mentioned earlier, the cost of investing in career guidance currently, and the recommendations in terms of where kind of stakeholders feel that money needs to be in order for us to have an effective all-age career guidance system. So do check those out. Those are our news stories for the week. And the last thing really that remains to be said is please do join us in a fortnight's time for our final episode of season 9. We will be back in the autumn, so don't be too upset. But this should be a really, really cracking episode, and it's going to be on Wednesday, the 2nd of August at 12 o'clock, usual time. We're joined by Jamie Pywell from MyPath, Farah Burke, graduate careers coach, basically talking about, does careers have a marketing problem? Very much linking on from some of the stuff that Caroline's talked about today. So please do join us for that episode if you're around. But until then, big thank you to everyone who's watched on Facebook community, LinkedIn, YouTube today. Massive thank you to Caroline for joining us. And thank you to everyone who's watching back on the recording. We hope you have a wonderful fortnight, and we will see you on the 2nd of August. Take care.